This video does not have a script. This video doesn't really have a whole lot of preparation going into it aside from my personal experience. And this video might not end up being very long. We'll find out. Howdy. My name is Nonat, and last week I played a level 2 Cloistered Cleric in a one-shot, and boy, did I feel useless. Spellcasters in Pathfinder 2e might be one of the hottest topic discussed by the players. Are they too powerful? Are they not powerful enough? A lot of people would err on the latter. This is due in no small part to their spell attack rolls not scaling nearly as fast as physical attack rolls for things like fighters and barbarians, and a lot of spell DCs being useless against a lot of monsters due to monsters having incredibly high bonuses to saving throws. But that's not what we're going to talk about here today. That's all been talked about before. I just had this interesting experience playing the one-shot. Don't get me wrong, the one-shot was fun. There was plenty of roleplay, there was plenty of skill checks, that was all not a problem. But in combat, holy cow, at level 2 did I have 0 options. Let's dive into this and talk more about—
Hello?
Oh god, not you again.
I'm the blacksmith.
Yes, I know.
Did you know that this video is sponsored by World Anvil?
Yeah, I was about to get to it.
And that World Anvil is one of the most powerful campaign organizers on the internet?
And?
Can you finish the ad for me? Talking like this hurts my voice.
World Anvil is an incredibly powerful tool that you should be using to organize your campaigns and making your life as a GM easier. If you're unaware, World Anvil is a powerful tool that you as a GM can use to organize not only your campaign, but also your individual sessions. Not only can your players log into their own characters and trade things between their inventory, but there are so many different tools at your disposal to organize things like calendars and encounters and each individual session and what you're going to be doing with them, not to mention their brand new whiteboard feature, which allows you to draw whatever you want on a shared white space, which is just so useful. If you use the link in the description below and enter code NONAT1 at checkout, you will get 12 months of premium membership for the price of 8. Give or take a few days, because it's like 30% or something. It's an amazing deal, and if you have been struggling to keep your notes together, or you just pretend like you're going to remember everything, like me, do yourself a favor. Use World Anvil and get everything you need to know in one easy-to-access place. Thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video. Now let's talk about low-level spellcasters. I played a Dwarven Cloistered Cleric at level 2, and I happened to pick a domain that wasn't super useful in combat. I picked the Truth domain, and their focus spell effectively allows you to say something, and everyone around you knows that you are telling the truth to the best of your knowledge. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a true statement, just that your character thinks it's true. It's honestly a really cool spell, and I got to use it once or twice. I really like it, but that limits my abilities in combat. In combat, I'm limited to, moving, my weapon, which I had a 10 strength score, so I wasn't exactly going to be doing much attacking, my 5 cantrips, and my 3 spell slots. 4 spell slots if you count my divine font giving me 1 extra slot because of my 12 charisma. I was a dwarf, so I had to put 2 boosts into charisma just to get that +1 for that extra spell slot. Some clerics, if they can get that 16 charisma, get to start with 3 free spell slots just for healing, which is awesome, but I unfortunately did not. This meant that in any individual encounter, which luckily there was only 1 encounter per day, I had 4 spell slots and 5 cantrips. That sounds like plenty, but you take away that 3 of my cantrips are things like light and message and that kind of thing, so I only have about 1 or 2 options for combat. 2 of my spell slots are heal spells. 1 slot is for magic weapon, and the other slot is for bless. Yes, I know I signed up to be a support bot, and that's exactly what I did. The combat started, I cast magic weapon before we engaged, my first turn was casting bless, and then after that, if no one had taken any damage, my options were honestly pretty limited. My only 2 offensive cantrips were Daze and Divine Lance. Divine Lance was tough unless I knew the alignment of my opponent, and a lot of these enemies were like animals or like an ogre, and I think they tend to be more neutral, and I was worried to waste an action to find out. So most of the time I would go for Daze, and they'd either succeed and take 2 damage or fail and take 4. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but Daze in and of itself is not the most exciting cantrip in the world, and the ability to mix it up would be nice. And I did once. I did cast a Divine Lance against a Warg, which happened to be evil, so that worked out pretty well and was a really cool feeling. But after that, there wasn't much for me to do. And this is definitely more of an issue specifically with Divine Spellcasters than others, like Arcane, Occult, and Primal. They have a little bit more diverse options when it comes to combat spells. Divine Casters, especially clerics who might need to take a few heal spells, are very limited. In fact, their spell list is even less combat focused, which makes sense. Clerics and healers of the Divine Orders are more focused on keeping people safe, purifying waters, conjuring food, all that kind of support thing, and that's totally fine. But it led to a really unfortunate encounter for me. Nothing bad, we won, in fact we did really well, all things considered, but once I magic weaponed, and once I blessed, Daze. The reason I say other spellcasters don't suffer from this at low levels is because even if you look at their cantrips, they've got a lot more options. Primal and Arcane both have access to Produce Flame, Electric Arc, and Ray of Frost. And Acid Splash, I'm looking them up now, not to mention Puff of Poison. What's Scatter Scree's a cantrip too? God! So is Spout! Divine and Occult, however, have way less options when it comes to offensive cantrips. They have Daze, they have Haunting Hymn, Chill Touch, and, if you're Divine, Divine Lance. This sounds like a lot, but a lot of these are either situational or weirdly hard to justify. For example, my character Jorb was a lawful good cleric. He would not be casting Chill Touch, he would not use that dirty necromantic magic, and Haunting Him once again felt a little bit wrong for him to be using. Nothing about his character was tuned into spirits of any kind, so he didn't really feel right using it. I guess you could say I could have flavored it otherwise, but it still felt very ghost-like. So this means I had Daze and Divine Lance, and if Divine Lance didn't work or I didn't know their alignment, it meant Daze. And sure, I could have taken some spell slots of some offensive spells, but I wanted to buff my party members, and as far as spell slots are concerned, I didn't really have an issue. I buffed my allies, I cast Bless to buff them and myself, and it was great. But after a while, Daze just wasn't worth it. Not to say it's a bad cantrip, it just felt bad to Daze and then have a third action to do Lord knows what. I could move 20 feet, I'm a dwarf. I could try to take cover from something, but there was no ranged attack, so it didn't really matter. There was not a lot of options for me to do, aside from one time moving into flanking position to give my ally flat-footed on the creature. Really kinda cool. But otherwise, I felt like, at least as a level 2 cloistered cleric, my turns were very limited, which is something I don't say a lot for Pathfinder 2e. Pathfinder 2e usually gives you loads of options, a lot of different things you can do on your turn, including skill options, but unfortunately I just didn't happen to have any deception or intimidation or athletics to do anything with that. So yes, a lot of this does come down to the way I built my character without having the forethought of what to do after I had buffed my party members, and this would be alleviated at higher levels. Once I get access to more spell slots, better spells, and more options, that's great. But what I think is that after level 1, once you've used your cantrips a few times, if all your spell slots are for support or roleplay or situational events, that gameplay is going to get really redundant. I don't think I would have enjoyed playing this cleric for another few sessions after that to reach level 3. I think if it's in a campaign where you're reaching levels 1 to 5 in like the first 10 sessions, I think it would be fine, constantly upgrading and getting new things. But if I was playing him in a long-form campaign, where each level tends to be like 3 to 5 sessions at least combat would get very redundant very fast. And the reason I don't think this is a problem for something like a martial class, because I can already tell people are in the comments going to be typing, oh, all fighters and rangers and barbarians do is hit things, that's the same thing. There's more to those. First off, they get feats that augment those attacks in different situations, but also, they get to roll the dice, they get to make an attack roll, maybe they'll critically hit. It feels really bad, with Daze specifically, that I don't get to roll anything. I cast Daze, my GM rolls the saving throw, and then they just take the damage. I think even if Daze had a D4 attached to it, maybe I wouldn't be making this video. I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling for the sake of rambling because I like to hear my own voice. Who knows at this point? But I do want to talk about that third action. After I cast Daze, or Magic Weapon, or Bless for that matter, that third action always felt empty. And I know this holds true for a lot of people playing Spellcasters in Pathfinder 2e. Unless you have the quickened once-a-day meta magic, or some crazy good one-action spell at higher levels, you can't do much with the one action unless you have Intimidation or Deception. It's unfortunate, and about a year ago, I defended this game against exactly this complaint, but the more I've played, the more I see spellcasters say, I cast this spell, and then I don't do anything else. They don't have a one-action spell to cast, there's no cover to move behind, they're already 60 plus feet away from the threat, what are they gonna do? It's at this point in the video I would like to say this is a tiny concern that affects a small percentage of players and in no way is bad for the system or calling PF2 bad in talking about this. But I do think it's worth talking about. What do you do with that third action as a spellcaster? Whether you're a wizard who just shot out an acid arrow or a cleric who used a 2-action heal, what do you do? Now, if you're arcane or occult, maybe you cast shield. That's a great, super popular one. But primal and divine don't have that option. Sure, you've got guidance, I guess, but what if there's no one close enough, or you just don't want to use guidance, because it's fine. I guess I could have cast a message to tell my fighter a joke in the middle of combat. I don't know. That's my thought. That third action's really awkward for specific characters, and maybe I should have built my character around it, but it just feels bad to be a supporting character, but I can't use that third action to do anything to support, other than moving into flanking position and putting myself in immediate danger. Sorry if you were hoping this video would lead to some kind of fix, or here's what you can do about it, or whatever. I don't really have anything for it, I just wanted to ramble, and sometimes I just like doing that. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you like to do with your third action. Maybe you add some homebrew, maybe you change the rules a little bit. I would love to hear what you do with that awkward spellcaster third action. Maybe that's what I'll title this video, the awkward spellcaster third action. Beautiful. Thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video, and if you haven't already, click the other link in the description to sign up for the Sinclair's Library Kickstarter. We go live May 3rd, and I'm incredibly excited. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, don't at once.